So we've got another real busy day ahead of us today. I'm going to be putting in some Louvre windows hopefully, so that means I've got to take out the existing casements. So a bit of fun ahead and see how we go.
So this is where we're starting with. We've got some old casement windows. They're using the old lead paint, so it's pretty nasty stuff and it's pretty flaky. So I do wear a mask when I'm dealing with them. And we did try restoring one in the bathroom, or the laundry should I say, just to see how it would look and how it would come up. And we decided that it was just worth replacing them after going through that process. It just wasn't worth the effort. They were a little bit out of skew. The joints had all sort of given up by this age. They're about 60 years old, and the glass itself wasn't very good stuff. It's pretty nasty glass that breaks. It's not like the current 4mm float glass of today where it breaks evenly and doesn't shatter into sharp pieces. So we've just decided to pull them out and make louvers over the top. So I'm ripping out all the jambs, all the existing jambs that were in this casement. Just giving it a good old reef with the crowbar seemed to be the best method there. And yeah, wearing the mask is an absolutely crucial when you're dealing with this sort of ugly lead paint in these older houses.
Now I've just put the louvers out, so these are the cassettes or the frames that the windows come with. So you've got two sides, these are left-hand operated, so that lever will come down, and I've gone with an acid etched finish. So that means essentially it's like a old satin finish where you can't see through the glass, but instead of having the dimpling, it's just a smooth finish overall. So what I'm doing now, I'm just going to measure out the jam to jam measurement and then add on my timber with about 2mm tolerance. And I've just slid one of my panes of glass in just to make sure I'm dead accurate when taking that dimension. I just wasn't sure. The brochure does have a setback for each side, but I just wanted to double check that the glass was exactly what it was supposed to be when it was cut.
So this is the weather strip. So it's got a piece of rubber PVC here that will flex backwards, just like that, so the louver can compress against it with the glass. That will just create a nice weather seal here between the window and the glass. But I've just got to account for the actual aluminium thickness, which is, I believe, about 3mm, 3.5mm, so I'll just allow 4mm just to allow this piece to fit over the top.
I like to always chop off the end when I have some new lumber, just to make sure it's nice and square, because sometimes it can just be a little bit not perfectly square, which I'm sure it'd be fine, but I just like to have it totally dead on just in case, especially when you're making up some windows. Just that 1 or 2mm can just make that window frame just not quite square. So I'm just assembling the actual cuts here of my lumber into the little box, and using galvanized screws here because it will be exterior on the front edge of the Louvre window. So these are some little corner clamps that we had. They're really handy actually when you're working by yourself. I just worked on one edge on the top and then moved the corner clamp onto the bottom edge, so that way I could make both edges flush or perfectly square.
So that's the jam that I've just built. That's the little box here that you're looking at, this pink box. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in this little Louvre cassette and fix it off and mark exactly where it needs to be in terms of the setback from this front edge
backwards so that the blades can open out 150 millimeters without obtruding either side, because what we'll end up doing later on is putting a fly screen on the exterior of the building. So if the louver goes past, that means I can't put a fly screen on this face. So I'm just going to set it back, probably down about roughly halfway. It would be okay. And that way you can put a fly screen across the whole face there like that. Pretty straightforward. So I've also just put in these little weather bars. So that's this long piece running across. And then you've got the gallery here with your mechanism just there. And then you've got your bottom weather strip as well. So it all seems to line up. So now I've just got to bring the actual pieces up to the right height and mark down exactly where they need to be, then screw them all off, and then I think we'll be able to slide the glass in.
I'm just marking up the front edge here, and I'm also using some window packers actually. So I've made my mark with my square there, and then I'm using these little packers just to get that gallery in the exact position where I wanted it to be. It's a really handy little method actually, works pretty well. And again, just marking the same edge, the distance from the front edge of the window. I think actually I'm working on the internal face here. That's why the handles are facing upwards. And again, just repeating with little blocks and using the window packers. If I had a dead level table, I wouldn't have to use packers on each side that are different, but the table isn't perfectly level, so I do have to use slightly different packers.
That's it. We've got the galleries now secured to the frame. I was using those weather bars as spacers, and then I used this little timber block to come up to the level that I marked, which was equal on both sides, and just use a little packer just to get it exactly to the little pencil mark that I made. So now we've just got to put those aluminium weather bars in this PVC snap block sort of stuff. It sort of snaps into the weather strip of the weather bar, and that's where the louver will push against. So we'll cut them up and push them in, and then we'll be able to test fit it and get the glass in and see what it looks like. Pretty cool.
This is the click in weather bar, weather strip. So I'm just clicking it in. It's got a very small groove. It's hard to see on camera, but I'm just squeezing it into that little joint there, and you can hear it almost crack into place. And finally, time to offer up the window. So I've got the galleries screwed into those exterior pink primed pine, and I wanted to put in the louver glass later, just obviously making it easier to install, and me just being happy that I've finally got it done. I'm holding two packers in my hand here, and that's 20mm, because on the wall I'm going to have some villa board, cement sheet and tiles. So to make that front edge flush to the finished edge of the tiles, I have to add on 20mm. So it's sitting 20mm inboard of that pine. And finally just fixing the actual jam itself to the studs, and I'm using the green laser level like I normally do, just to make sure everything is dead level and square and plumb and all the rest of it.
And that's pretty much it. So the last thing now is just to slide in the glass louvers themselves, and that's it, we're done.
This is just a look from the outside of the actual frame, and this is another louver window, just a finished product. It's a slightly different louver set, this one, than the bathroom, but I had forgotten to take a final photo of the bathroom once finished. So these are some other ones that we're using in the extension room that I also made up. I'll make another video on these ones. They're virtually the same sort of principle, just that you have to make up your own weather strips with pine instead of the PVC, and that's it.